Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Let's give a warm welcome to Dave B.
Thank you. Dave Barge, alcoholic.
Hi, Dave.
Here I am up here with 5 beautiful women. And my wife could see me now. And I'm ticked off at her because I'm a newlywed. 14th of August, I will be married a year. My wife wakes me up every morning with coffee and kisses, except this morning. She's in Torrance and I'm in Eagle Rock, but she could have came. Yeah. And now I'm up here with 5 beautiful women. How sweet it is. It's good to be here. Thank the committee. I couldn't see you. This is the worst seat in the house. You got the lights, and you know, the lights are so bad up here, you guys are looking good. That's what's happening here. So that's what's going on here. I've been here before. I usually come most years to this. It's August, so it must be Foothill time, huh? A lot of things happen in August. Mike has a birthday in August. Lots of things happen in August. August 1941, I think it was, Alcoholics Anonymous started in Orange County, Anaheim. So if you're from Anaheim, you were at the beginning. If you were there in 1941, you could have been at the first meetings. There was a guy that showed up at Towns Hospital for the 50th time for detox, and he got sober in August after 50 times, in and out of these doors. Lots of history in August. I was thinking this morning, because I was talking to Mike. We had a good meeting this morning over watermelon, and talking the history of Alcoholics Anonymous. In August, many years ago, a guy got in trouble with the cops, got arrested. His name was Ebby T, which means a lot to some of us, and some of us maybe nothing. Ebby. He had was an old drinking buddy of Bill's, and he started out that he was driving drunk, and he ran into a house and parked his car inside the house. And he asked the woman that lived there for a cup of coffee and bragged about her coffee, thinking he'd get him money. He was in trouble. And so the cops got him. He went to the judge. He was in trouble. And his family got him out of that, and his friends. And they took him home. And he was so indebted to his family for getting him out of trouble one more time that he thought he'd paint their house. And they lived in a big New England house on Main Street, right at the beginning of town. And he went out and painted the house because he swore he wasn't going to drink and get in any trouble. And he painted the house. Well, after he got done, he said, I did a really good job. I think I should have a cool beer for that. So he went in and got him a beer and was sitting there admiring his handiwork. And a bird came by and crapped on the house. What would you do? The bird flew over and got in this tree. He went in the house and got a shotgun and blew that tree apart. He got arrested again. So you don't know, if you don't know, you don't know that this story has a lot to do with us here today. This story 100 years ago. Because a guy named Roland T. and a judge's son went and got him out of that trouble. Roland H. Got Ebby T. out of that trouble and took him to a farm and got him in the Oxford group. And after a couple months, that was in August, and in November, he went to New York City to see his friend Bill Wilson, which I sometimes think should be the beginning of Alcoholics Anonymous. But I'm not the historian who's in charge of all that. But he went and talked to Bill. If you get into Bill's story, Ebby T. is the guy that's in the story that came to talk to Bill. Told Bill he found religion. Bill said, man, I don't want nothing to do with no religion. And Bill's drinking that gin. So you drink gin, you're a bad alcoholic, Ugh. And they talked there, and Ebby's the one that told Bill, why don't you get your own conception of God? Get your own conception of God and find you a higher power. And this could work for you like it does for me. Get your own conception. And then the story goes on, you know, Ebby left. He was Bill's sponsor to the day he died. And Ebby never did really get sober for great lengths of time. Was in and out of the program. But he was always Bill's sponsor. And so the message of Alcoholics Anonymous is brought to us many ways. Sometimes do we recognize it? Do we not? Do we accept the gift that's given to us? I don't know. I said I'm an alcoholic. Any other alcoholics here? All right. Any Al-Anons here? All right. I took your 20 questions at the noon meeting yesterday, and I answered yes to all of them. Is that good? I don't know. Yeah. When I came to Alcoholics Anonymous had 20 questions, but the group I came in didn't like our 20 questions because it was written by non-alcoholics at St. John's Hospital. So I always listen to a guy from Texas. I was talking to a guy this morning who got sober in Texas. We had Wino Joe from Tyler, Texas. He did his own 20 questions. Some of you have probably heard these. Have you ever been run over by your own car while driving? Have you ever been arrested while in jail? Have you ever had the roof of your mouth sunburned? Passed out again. When you're not drinking, do you notice that your hair hurts and your teeth itch? So those were some of the 20 questions that I had when I first got sober, and I could answer yes to a lot of those kind of crazy things. Any new people with us this morning? Anybody under 30 days? No new people? There's one. You were our second youngest last night, sitting in the same spot. You got this little safe spot there, don't you? You up? Was you a little higher? We like it that you're not higher. Yeah, we don't get higher here. Yeah, what's your name? Matthew. How many days you got? 8. How many? Is that 8 days all in a row? Oh, man. How many nights you got? Nights? Okay, I just wondered. I mean, I'm from Torrance, and I hear about people out here. You guys, you know, a lot of you'll get 10, you know, you'll have 10 days and 7 nights and stuff like that. I like them to match up, you know. It's awesome. Awesome you're here. I have 17 days today. 17. So you follow me. How about people with months? Anybody here with months? No months? Nobody count their time in months? There's one. How many months you got? 8 days? All right. Congratulations. $69. Awesome. There's another one. 37 days. 7 months. I'm with you. I have 7 months. I have 17 days, and I have 7 months. Us people with months, we got responsibility here with these people with days, you know. We're the ones that got to show them how it works here. We're the ones that tell them how to get to the restroom, show them how to act in a meeting. I wasn't housebroken when I come to Alcoholics Anonymous. Somebody had to show me something. How about years? People here got years? How many years you got? 28. 17. 35. 54. How many you got? 28. Awesome. Anybody else? 2. 14. 38. 5. 5.5. We don't do half. 8. 16. 17. See, they top you. You get 16, now they got 17. 32. Awesome. 9. 12. 2. 9, 6, 7, 60, 62, 60, only 60? Well, if it was a contest, she would win, huh? The trouble is, it ain't a contest. We all got the right amount of time. I have 45 years. So what's important to me is I have 17 days today. So I always count my time in days, because the days, we don't do this by months and years. And we don't do this. She has done this by 60 years. We do this one day at a time. Sometimes we do it a half a day at a time. Sometimes we do it moment to moment. And all those days come together and become weeks, and then they become months, and then they become years. So a guy like me getting 45 years is a big deal. But it's really a big deal. I got 17 days today. 17 days, all in a row, day and night. And I'm here with the new guy. Who could ask any more? And all you people that talked, you could say you've all talked at the closing meeting of the Foothill Roundup. No matter how long you're sober, you could say, I was the speaker at the closing meeting of the Foothill Roundup. We all got different times. It was read here today in the 5th chapter. We really haven't seen a person fail who was thoroughly followed our path. And if you're new with us, what we just showed you in here, a little sampling of that, we're all on this path. We're at different parts of the path. Maybe at 60 years, she's further down the path than I am at 45. But we're on the same path. The same path. We're in different spots in that path. We're on that path. And what we want you new people is get on the path with us. Get on the path with us. Because we found out we couldn't do it alone. So we do it together. I don't know what I'm going to talk about today, but I was born in Detroit, Michigan. I'm an only child. I had 2 brothers, 1 sister. Hard to be an only child when you got all those brothers and sisters, you know. They always got the good stuff. I never got the good stuff. They got stuff I didn't even know I wanted it till they got it. And as soon as they got it, I wanted it. And I was like a restless and irritable kid. And always on the move, always on the run, just moving. And I started drinking when I was 8, getting arrested a lot when I was 9 and 10. I shot my first guy when I was 15. I got married when I was 16 in the 9th grade. I had 4 kids when I was 20, so all that is boring stuff. But I lived life different than a lot of other people lived it, drinking all the time. I remember coming home, lived in Hawthorne, California, had a wife and 4 kids. I'm a plasterer. When you get married in the 9th grade, they don't make you president or nothing, so I'm a construction worker. Was then, am now. I come home from work, and there was a sheriff sitting on my front porch with papers saying, restraining order, couldn't go in my own house. In my own house I couldn't go in, after all I'd done for that woman. And all the stuff I planned on doing for her. But I was a bad drinker in those days. And so they got rid of me, and I'm a funny guy. I have a simple system. You know, if you hurt me, I hurt you. And my wife had hurt my feelings, so I went and I moved and got a little apartment. I was living in there, and I went and got a idea of stuff, and I was so upset and resentful. I mean, my motorcycle was parked in the kitchen. They wouldn't even let me get my Harley out. It was just a horrible, sad story. So I went by the school and kidnapped my 2 oldest sons, our sons, took my sons, took my sons away from my wife. And took off and went to Charlotte, North Carolina. Went to work there, living with those boys. And Christmas came around, and my oldest son called his mom and his sisters and gave me up where I was at because I didn't tell her. Just took her kids. You hurt me, I hurt you. Next thing I know, my wife and kids are back there. It's Christmas time, New Year's time, and I'm living in a singles-only place with these 2 boys. And now I got a wife and 2 boys and 2 girls, and they threw me out of there. So I went and rented a big house in Charlotte, North Carolina, out on Queens Road. Tall cotton. I'm not from the South, but everybody down South everybody had a house that sat out on a front porch. Some people had a really nice front porch, and other people didn't really have a front porch, but they sat out front. A new chaise lounge, or an old chair, something. Everybody did out there, and I seen that. I said, geez, I got to fit in here. I want to get me a house with a front porch. Look like I'm somebody. Make my outsides try to match your outsides. Actually, I didn't want to match yours. I wanted to be better than yours. So I rented me this big house, 3.5 terraced acres with a pond and a huge front porch. I even had a rear porch. You know, moved in there in January. God, we got along the whole month. It was like a record, you know. Because I ain't running with those guys in California anymore. This time we're going to make it. This time, because I've been back and forth with my wife and kids many times. This time we're going to make it. This time. And February 10th rolled around. That's my belly button birthday. And they had a big party. It was a big event in my life that we were going to be a family again. Everybody's together. We're going to, you know, it's just my birthday, but the whole thing is we're going to be a family and be together. This time. This time. And I went to work. I'm coming home to my party. I stopped around the corner of my house with one of my foremen, and I had a quick shooter on my birthday, right? It's my birthday. Well, I got home late for dinner. I got home late for Easter dinner. I don't know how many days it is between February 10th and Easter, but that's how many days I was gone. And then my boss was there, and his wife was there, and you know how they all turn on you? You know, so they decided I need to go to this thing called Alcoholics Anonymous. And I said, I ain't that bad. So I wouldn't make the call, but they made a call to Alcoholics Anonymous there in Charlotte, North Carolina. And they told me 2 guys would be out to see me in about an hour. So I went out to the front porch because that's where my bar was. I cleaned up all the newspapers, polished the glasses, cleaned the ashtrays, get ready for these AA guys to come. So these 2 guys show up in about an hour. 2 guys I've never seen. 2 guys I know their name. 2 guys took their time, came to my house. Brought them in, asked them what they wanted to drink. They said they wanted coffee. I said, good, what do you want in it? They wanted cream and sugar. I said, no, man, I can fix your coffee up. What are you talking about? They just wanted cream and sugar. I'm thinking, geez, they sent me the wrong 2 guys. I got a bar full of you name it, and they want cream and sugar in their coffee. We sat down on the front porch, one of them over here, and I'm over here, and I kept waiting for them to ask me about my drinking, these 2 guys from AA. They never did ask me about my drinking. One over here would say, how you get along with your wife? One over here would say, probably not so good, huh? How you get along with your kids? Probably not so good, huh? How you get along at work? Probably not so good, huh? These AA guys drank coffee with cream and sugar. They asked all the questions. They answered all the questions. I never said a word. And they smoked all my cigarettes. Don't you people have your own cigarettes? So they told me stuff about themselves. I was embarrassed for them. They told me, you know, a man wouldn't tell another man all the stuff that they were telling me about themselves. My God, I was so embarrassed for them. And they decided I need to go to this AA meeting with them. And like's been said here this weekend, I told them, fine, give me the address, I'll meet you over there. And they said, no, we're going to go home and change clothes because you dressed in those days to go to meetings. We're going to go home and change clothes, and we'll come back and pick you up and take you to the meeting. I said, no, I'll meet you at the meeting. They said, no, we're going to go home, change clothes, we'll come back and pick you up to the meeting. I said, no, I'll meet you at the meeting. They said, no, we're going to go home and change clothes and pick you up and take you to the meeting. You guys are persistent. So the way they went, they came back and got me, and went to this meeting in this big church in Charlotte where they have a lot of big churches. There was about 1 million people in my first meeting. I didn't count them, but it looked like about 1 million. And we got in just as the meeting was started, and we sat on the back row. The meeting got started. The leader, not a beautiful leader like we have, but a leader, got up there and said, is there anybody here got a desire, wants a desire chip? These guys picked me up and sent me down the aisle to this guy. I didn't want no desire chip, whatever that was. I didn't know what it was. And the guy handed me a white poker chip, and he said, this is a signify that you're now, right now, a member in good standing of Alcoholics Anonymous. Hand me the white poker chip. Then he held up a red chip, and he said, we call this a stop chip. And if you don't drink for 90 days, you can earn this chip. But if you decide to drink, swallow the white chip first, the whole poker chip. And he didn't talk to me anymore, so I went to sit down. I got all the way to the back. And on the left side, I was sitting sort of on my right. On my left side was my neighbor. Here I'm in an AA meeting that I don't even want to be at. I don't want anybody to know I'm here. And who's there? My neighbor. Sitting on the same back row that I was, my neighbor. I mean, they live right next door. My neighbor. You know, the neighbor just had me arrested? That neighbor. See, down south, and I'm not from the south, everybody sits on their front porch. They all have riding lawnmowers. They all have big lawns. And so I went to Sears, got me a Craftsman riding lawnmower, you know, candy apple red with pinstripes, the color of the day. Because you got to fit in, right? You got to do what the neighbors do. But the problem is that my neighbors get up Saturday mornings around 7 o'clock. They go out, they clip all their little bushes, and they ride their lawnmowers around mowing their lawns. Between you and me, 7 o'clock Saturday morning is not a good time for me. I've already shared with you I'm a construction worker. Sometimes you stop for a quick one Friday night after work. you're just getting home 7 o'clock Saturday morning, you know, after a quick one. Saturday morning, gas fumes, put, 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 I'm not into that. But now it's, what day? Sunday. It's Sunday night. The bars close 1 o'clock. You go home and you get your pint of bourbon. And you get your lawnmower out. And you put the bourbon between your legs, just like when you're driving your truck, you know. And you mow your lawn. So I'm out there mowing my lawn, drinking my bourbon. Everything is good. I don't know, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. This neighbor, one of you people, called the cops on me. The next thing I know, this squad car pulled right up on my lawn. This guy gets out. If you're not from the South, let me share with you. It took him about 2 seconds to get out of the car and about 25 minutes to adjust his hat, these big old hats he wears. He got his hat adjusted, and he come over and he started hollering and screaming at me. I'm on my lawn, and this guy parked on my freshly mowed lawn, and he's hollering at me. I'm trying to calm him down because I'm kind of a spiritual kind of guy, you know. And so I think I told him the same story about 10 times. You know how we are when we're drinking? You get a story, and you just tell that story. It's like, so I'm trying to explain to this guy who's telling me I can't mow my lawn that this is my lawn. This is my lawn, and this is my lawnmower, mine. And I can mow my lawn with my lawnmower anytime I feel like it. He couldn't get the concept. The next thing, about the 10th time I told him that, he went to show me his gun. I showed him mine. He took off and went behind his squad car over there. I kept mowing my lawn. He called all his buddies. They all come, parked their cars, they all had them big hats, and they all had the big guns. I had big guns too, but I never got in the house to get them. Here I am hogtied on my own freshly mowed lawn. And now I'm out here at the Foothill Roundup with all you axe murderers. And I got arrested for mowing my lawn. I mean, this is a real tough guy story, isn't it? I got arrested for mowing my lawn. And this guy is in the meeting. I don't want this guy to see me. And later, they had a birthday. The guy was taking a cake for 30 years. And they wanted me to go meet him. I'm thinking, the guy's been here 30 years and he ain't got this down yet? Why do I want to meet him? But then I remembered I had the white chip. Maybe I could help him. Because I was, you know, I'm a member now. And so I went and talked to him for a while at the break. And then after that, after the coffee break, they were going to have a speaker. My first meeting, I was there about 7 or 8 hours before that happened. It seemed like I was there a long time, and now they're going to have this speaker, and I wanted to get out of there, but these two guys wouldn't let me. And this guy started talking. He come up and had a suit and tie on. I didn't even own a suit and tie. I never owned a suit and tie. Wouldn't know how to tie a tie if I had a tie. He said he went to Wake Forest or Duke, one of them North Carolina schools. I got married when I was in the 9th grade. I never finished the 9th grade. What am I going to listen to this fool for? Some guy went to college and has a suit and tie. What am I going to waste my time with that for? Somebody different from me. But he got to talking, and I can't tell you everything he said, but I'll tell you some of the things I heard. This guy who was different from me. Talked about being lonely. Man, I knew about being lonely. He just told everybody about being lonely. Man, I knew about being lonely. He talked about how people would talk about him like he wasn't there. That's what my family's doing with me. What should we do with David? Should we put it back in Metropolitan State? Should we call the cops? What are we going to do with David? They stopped calling on me. They didn't care what I think they should do with me. They just talked about me like I wasn't there. This guy talked about how he had people he cared about. You got anybody you care about? He had people he cared about, and he just couldn't maintain that connection with them. He wanted so bad to be part of their life and for them to be part of his life. And he just couldn't maintain that connection. He just get to drinking, and he was just losing it. It was like there was a wall between him and the people he cared about, and I knew what that was all about. He talked about he had this hole right in the middle of his gut. Our good members here will tell you it's a soul sickness. I don't use words like that. I had a hole in the middle of my gut. It was empty. Empty. You remember those long, dark, empty days? Yeah, I do. And I had this emptiness. What wouldn't I do to fill that hole? We in AA worry about outside issues and worry about all kinds of crazy stuff. What is it that I wouldn't do to fill that hole? Hurt you? That would make me feel better, I would. Steal your money, drink, drug, whatever it is to fill that emptiness for a moment, just to fill that emptiness. So I left my first meeting with a stomach ache. I started going to meetings in North Carolina, and you get there, the meeting starts at 7:30, you go there 7:15, 7:20, you park, you go to get in the meeting, and there's all these people want to pat you, hug you, and ask you personal questions. Hi, how are you? Well, it's really none of your business how I am. I don't even know you. And at the end of the meeting, they'd pass the basket in those days. You put a buck in the basket. Before you could move, somebody's holding your hand and saying prayers. I don't do prayers, and I don't hold people's hands. Don't touch me, and I don't touch you. I don't want to be touched. So I invented the David Barge system of Alcoholics Anonymous that April of 1969. Meeting starts 7:30, comes 7:35. You don't have to go by all those greeters and do all that patting and hugging and shaking hands and answer personal questions. When they pass the basket, put your buck in the basket and get out of the meeting. Because if you ain't get out there quick, you're going to be holding hands and saying prayers. You got to be quick. So I came a little late and left a little early in 1969, and came a little late and left a little early in 1970, and came a little late and left a little early in 1971, and came a little late and left a little early in 1972. In and out of the doors of Alcoholics Anonymous from North Carolina back to California, where I was from. In and out. Come in, sit in the corner. Those days they say, don't drink if your butt falls. Don't drink. And I say, okay, I won't drink. And in 10 days, 15 days, I'd be out drinking again. Who knows? Always wonder why. Why am I doing this again? I got on some bad drunks. I had a little plastering business with the guys. My guys put me in a little flop house in Gardena, California. I had a little room there. It's one of those little rooms you didn't take your mom and your sisters to, you know. You didn't really turn the lights out at night because the little critters started running around in that little room. A guy like me with my pride winding up in a room like that. How could that be? And I sit there and drink and think and make my plan, because you can't be an alcoholic without a plan, right? You got to have a plan. All I got to have a plan, and I'm making my plans. And I got on a drunk. I got on a bad drunk. You ever been on a bad drunk? I got on a horrible drunk. Couldn't get drunk, and I couldn't get sober. I stayed on that drunk, it seemed like for hours and hours and days, and I don't really know how long it was. Couldn't get drunk, and I couldn't get sober. I couldn't get drunk, and I couldn't get sober. And I reached a state, for this alcoholic, a state of hopelessness. All my life, I was a molested, battered little kid, come from some crazy stuff when I was a kid and growing up. And all my life, I knew tomorrow, I'm going to get my life together tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be okay. Tomorrow. And I lived my whole life for tomorrow. And somehow in that room, on that drunk, I couldn't get drunk and I couldn't get sober. I knew tomorrow was going to be just like today. Not any different. Simple. And I could never admit that to myself, that it was never going to be okay. And I got on that drunk and I didn't know what to do. I'd already been to AA, I'd already been to psychology and psychiatry, and been locked up. I've been a lot of places, and been to AA. There's no hope for me, so I decided to kill myself. It's the only way out. But I got a wife and 5 kids. Who's going to take care of my wife and kids when I kill myself? So I decided what I'll do is I'll kill her and kill the kids, then I'll kill myself. And I thought about that for a while. And, as a parent, some days you love your kids more than other days, So I thought what I'll do is I'll kill her and some of the kids, and then I'll kill myself. But I was trying to decide which kid to kill, and I was having a hard time with decisions. You ever get that point? I got to reach the point in my drinking, I had a hard time making decisions. You don't like that decision to get out of bed and go to the bathroom? I just went where I was, Those power to make those kind of decisions was out of my life. And somewhere, I heard the serenity prayer that I heard with you people. And somewhere in that madness, I knew what I'd do is I'd come sit with you. I'll come sit with you, and I could decide who to kill and who not to kill. And I hope that fits our third tradition, or they're going to throw me out of here. So I I detoxed myself. I've been detoxed many times, and I walked it off, and I walked from Gardena to Hawthorne to the Birch Street Club, place I'd never been before. I would walk there and go to meetings. I'd sit in a corner. You didn't bring me coffee or water. You didn't tell me I was the lifeblood of the program. None of that stuff came to me. I had very long hair. I had a long, scraggly beard. I had sores all over me. I had no teeth. I had a pants and shirt that I've been regurgitating in and defecating in and urinating in for a long time. A long green overcoat so filthy dirty it'd stand up by itself, and my hand in my pocket on my 38, because it's going to kill your wife and kids. You got to have your peace, don't you? And that's how I came to you. I celebrate my birthday on December 18th, 1972. The old-timers told me I came about a week before Christmas, so that's when I celebrate my birthday. I don't know if that's the actual day I came or not. At this point, it really don't matter, does it? But I want all you new people to get your day. Get your day. That's your day. Nobody can take that day away from you. You keep that day. It's your day. And everybody in this room, we have a day to measure ourselves against. You keep that day, and you remember that day. And if you think things get tough here or sober, tell me about that last day of drinking. Tell me about that last week before you got to Alcoholics Anonymous. Tell me about that time. And I'll tell you some tough times. So you get your day. And I went to meetings. I was going to meetings. I was here 5 or 6 weeks later, early in February, and I was in a meeting dressed and smelling exactly the same way I came in December. Only I hadn't had a drink. I just wasn't drinking. And I was sitting in my corner, and this guy was talking, and for some reason, they asked for newcomers to that meeting, and I stood up in the back and said, David, and sat down. I didn't know I was a David, if I was an alcoholic, a grateful alcoholic, a real alcoholic, a Polish alcoholic. Everybody had a name, it seemed like, you know. So I said, David, and sat down. At the end of that meeting, this guy looked around, some guy I'd never seen in my life, looked around the meeting and said, hey, where's that new guy at? Where's that new guy at? Where's that new gal at? What we want you to do here is we want you to act like a little sheep, and you get right in the middle of this flock. You get right in the middle of this flock, and old cunning, baffling, powerful won't get you. I almost blew his head off. I grew up on a hog ranch. I know what guys do to sheeps. Instead, I got a little teary-eyed. Hard to be a tough guy with your hand in your pocket. Going to kill your wife and kids and get a little teary-eyed. The power we have in Alcoholics Anonymous is just to acknowledge each other. The power we have in this room to reach our hands out to these new people. The power we have right here to say, welcome. We're glad you're here. The power we have is, can I help you? Is there anything I can do for you? The power we have right here where I could say to many people in this audience, would you help me? The power of Alcoholics Anonymous. The power of Alcoholics Anonymous right here, right now, right in this room. There's part of me wants to tell you a long story because she's here. I went home after that meeting. I walked home. When I was new, I had the wanderers, couldn't sit still very much. And I was in that room 1 o'clock in the morning, and there's a knock on the door. I looked out the window. You get a little paranoid. You know, you're going to jump out the bathroom window or something. You look out, and it was this guy that was speaking at the meeting. I recognized him. And I'm thinking, this sucker thinks I'm a little sheep. So, should I open the door and shoot him and drag him in? Or should I open the door, let him in, and then shoot him? So I'm having these thoughts, and so I open the door. I'm not moving real quick, you know. And the next thing, he's in my room. And he's looking around. He said, how are you doing? That's an AA thing here. I don't know where that comes from. How are you doing? Everybody asks you, how you doing? How you doing? How you feel? How you doing? I never knew the answer to that, you know. I always felt about 10 things at once, you know. And I said, well, I'm having trouble sleeping. You had to tell him something, right? He said, well, you know, he looked around my room and said, you know, if you shut the lights off, the radio off, and the television off, you might go to sleep. Old-timers are smart. Who would ever think of that? Man, turn the lights off and the TV off, be there all by myself. I ain't that tough. I ain't that tough. He looked around the room and had all this booze. He said, what are you going to do with that? I said, I don't know. I can't drink it and I can't throw it away. don't know what to do with it. And he said, you know, you've been coming in and out our doors for a long time. We know about you. We know about you. What do you want to do? What do you want? Boy, people hadn't asked me that in a long time. What do you want? What do you want? That's a big question, isn't it? What do you want? So I didn't explain to him. I was trying to decide to kill my wife and kids, and I couldn't decide which kid, but I didn't explain that to him. But I said, well, I want to come with you then. So we talked about we had to get rid of all that booze and get rid of it all. And I said, yeah, you know, maybe next Tuesday would be a good day or something. And he started pouring it all down the sink. I don't remember saying we ought to do it now. And he poured all my booze down the sink. I was sort of in shock watching this guy. He went in the bathroom and got my hideout out of the toilet tank. Which one of you told him it was there? I didn't tell him I had a hideout in the toilet tank. How'd this guy know I had a hideout in the toilet tank? Here's another question for you on this Sunday morning. Who was I hiding it from? I know there's some stashers here. I know you're in here. I ain't throwing parties. Ain't nobody stealing stuff from me. And I got a fifth of CC hid in the toilet tank. He come back after that. It's 3, 4 o'clock in the morning probably. And said, why don't you take a shower and I'll wash your place for you. He just poured my place down the sink and flushed my place down the toilet. I hadn't showered in a long time. You know. So I went and took a shower. You know. I come out of the shower and he'd went somewhere and got some clothes. Some clean clothes. And he got some clean sheets. And he made my bed. I could tell you about my big houses and my BMWs and stuff. I could tell you about stuff, my European trips and all the stuff I've done sober. I could tell you about all that. You ever had any clean sheets? Big stuff. I had clean sheets on my bed. And this guy says, hey, why don't you take a nap and I'll sit here with you. You know, that's what he did. You know, he asked me if he could throw my clothes in the dumpster, I think. And I went to sleep and I slept for a long time. A long time. A guy I'd never seen before, couldn't tell you his name. A guy with 21 years of sobriety, had cancer. This was in February and he died in May. A guy named Joe Motes. A guy from the Royal Palms. I don't know if you knew that. So there are choirs from Royal Palms. So there's always a circle in a circle here. I went to the meeting next day, my AA meeting after that. I nudged a couple of the greeters, and I continued to steal the money out of the baskets. Hell, I have no money. You guys had this money in these baskets. And that's how my AA started. I got to get out of here. I tell you, I came to meetings for months and months. After that, I heard a guy say in the meeting, if you go and wash the coffee cups, you can stay sober. So I went to the guy in the kitchen, and I said, I'm here to wash the coffee cups. And he said, no, it's my commitment or something. I had my 38 in my belt. I just showed him my 38. I said, no, I'm going to wash these coffee cups. So if you don't have a commitment, that's how I got mine. I'm just sharing. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm just sharing. They said, if you put the chairs up and down, you'll stay sober. So I did the chairs. I'm a straight road person. Any straight road people here? I like my road straight, baby. That's right. Do our road straight. And I'm doing 12-step calls and doing all kind of crazy stuff. You know, it's like I've been talking about this. In those days, you did a lot of 12-step calls, men with men and women with women. But I'm David Barge. I do it my own way. I don't listen to anybody do anything. And this call came in on a Sunday morning, and this woman had called, and they were looking for a couple women to go to Palos Verdes and pick her up. And I seen the address, and I ran up to Palos Verdes to get her. I think I'm going to get points for this or something. And she was drinking some wine, so I filled her wine glass up and got her out to the car. She kept talking about something, and I kept telling her it'll be all right, just get in the car. And every once in a while she'd say something, and I'd tell her to drink the wine and drink up. I'd grab her arm and got her down to the club. We didn't have a central office in those days, and it turned out she was an AL-ANON. Her husband had relapsed and was passed out on the floor, and she was calling AA for somebody to come and get him. She probably told me, but I don't listen. It's like, self will run riot. And I was here for many months, and then doing this thing about David's way. These two old timers went out and picked this new guy up and brought him to his first AA meeting. And one old timer went home and had a heart attack and died. He died. And I liked that old timer. And I went out to the new guy and asked him his name, and he told me. When he told me his name, I put my 38 right in his mouth. I said, if you ever drink, I'll blow your head off. To honor the newcomer, right? And he died with 41 years of sobriety, so everybody has their way, And the reason I'm telling you that story is that was on a Sunday night in Torrance. And the next day, Monday, I went to a noon meeting, and these women, 5 or 6 women and a couple guys, reluctant guys, and 5 or 6 women right out front said, we'd like to talk to you after the meeting. I said, they finally recognized my talents here. And they come over and they said, David, we're afraid of you. We're afraid of you. We all know you got that gun. We all see that gun, and we're afraid of you. And they started cussing, and I was wondering, geez, I didn't know old grandmas my age would cuss like that. And they said, this is what you sound like when you talk. We don't even know what you sound like. And then you got that gun, and we're all afraid of you. We don't want you coming to meetings here with your gun anymore. If you got to bring your gun to meetings, take it to Lacanada. Just... And you got to get a sponsor. We know that we know what you're doing, but you got to get a sponsor, and you got to do things the way we're doing it here. These people looked me right in the eye and told me that. You didn't look me in the eye. I'm not a guy you look in the eye and tell things. I don't look you in the eye. You're going to look me in the eye. And they just looked me right in the eye and told me how it was. And so I went that next week and got a sponsor. Women had pulled my covers. That's what we do with each other around here, don't we? Don't we pull each other's covers? If we're not, what are we doing? I went to this guy's house to be my sponsor. He said, bring your big book. We're going to read the book and do the steps Monday night. And I went to his house, and he never even offered me a cup of coffee or anything. He said, look, if I want to be your sponsor, there's some ground rules. I said, what's that? He said, we can't bring your gun to meetings anymore. Nobody worry about my gun. I was going to ask him, did he mean my 38 or the little 32 I carried in my boot all the time? Because 2 is better than 1, right? But I knew that was a dumb question. So I said, okay, I'll try not to do that. He said, I'm not telling you to try not to do it. I'm telling you, ain't nobody wants bad for you in Alcoholics Anonymous. Ain't nobody wants bad. Everybody here wants good for you. You don't need to bring your gun to meetings. He said, you have to stop taking the money out of the baskets. I said, who told you I'm taking the money out of the baskets? He says, everybody knows you're taking the money out of the baskets. Hell, I thought I was slicker than that, He said, tomorrow when you go to the meeting, you put a little money in, and you put a little extra for how much you've taken. You start paying it back right now. I said, I don't know how much I've taken. He said, well, you start putting a little extra in the basket, and I'll tell you when to stop. 17 days, 7 months, and 45 years. Nobody told me to stop yet. I didn't get this much. He said, if I want to be your sponsor, you're not sitting in the corner by yourself anymore. You're going to come sit with the crowd. I don't want to sit with the crowd. I don't want to do that. I ain't sitting with people. I don't want to do that. He said, look, I don't want to be your sponsor either. But if I'm going to be your sponsor, you're going to sit with the crowd. So I started doing that. He said, if I'm going to be your sponsor, at the end of the meeting, we say a closing prayer. And everybody holds hands and joins together. They join together as one to say that closing. And I want you to hold people's hands. You don't have to know the prayer. You'll learn the prayer. You don't have to know the prayer. You don't have to believe in the prayer. But I want you to hold hands and be part of the closing of every meeting that you're at. I said, I ain't going to do that. I don't want people touching me, and I ain't touching them. I ain't doing that. He said, come on, let me buy you a drink. I said, what are you talking about? I thought you were my sponsor to help me stay sober. He said, David, do you want what we have? You'll do what we do here. And what we do here is we join in and do a closing prayer at the end of the meetings. So if you want what we have, you'll do what we do. And if you don't want to do what we do, you might as well drink now. What are you waiting for? You've been in and out of this thing for years. What are you waiting for? Go get it. And so I started doing those things. Those stupid things. I went to a meeting. When you get a sponsor, you have to go to meetings where your sponsor goes, right? And so I went to my sponsor's meeting. He was sitting right where Trish is sitting, second row right in the corner. I went there to the meeting, got there 10 or 15 minutes early, and I talked to him a minute, and I started straightening the chairs. People had crooked rows. My sponsor said, what are you doing? I said, I'm straightening these chairs. Look at these rows, they're all crooked here. He said, oh, is that your commitment? I said, commitment? I never even been in this meeting before. It ain't my commitment. He said, well, maybe the person that has that commitment likes crooked rows. And you need to love and support them for the job they're doing. Sponsors tell you stupid stuff. How am I supposed to love and support somebody that's putting crooked rows up? You know, you guys don't have that out here, but in my area, you know, there's people that don't do it how I think they should do it. They don't dress right. They don't talk right. They don't say what I want them to say. They don't do what I want them to do. Driving out here, there's people on the freeway. They don't do it the way I want them to do it. So I've been trying to work on many years now. Stand up, be David. But I don't have to be against you. I don't have to make you wrong. And I don't have to be right. I just have to give what you give to me. So I started doing those things. I broke my watch getting dressed to come here. And I'm so used to my watch doing some time, so I've got my phone, but I keep forgetting to check the time. So somebody throws something at me. Life changed when I got a sponsor to do the program. To see life through someone else's eyes. To do what you guys do. You know, my sponsor got me on, doing the steps. Doing that first step. Talking about being powerless over alcohol. My sponsor told me, have you ever told yourself you're not going to drink today? Did you ever told the people around you you're not going to, did you ever promise not to drink today? I said, yeah. He said, who'd you promise? I said, I promised the judge, my mother, my grandmother, my kids, my boss. I promised people over the years. What happened? I said, I wound up drinking. He said, did you ever tell yourself, not today, not today, I'm not going to drink today? I said, yeah, I did. I did. I've had days like that in my life where, not today, I'm not going to drink today. And he said, what happened? And I said, I wound up drinking. So for a guy like me, I had to find out I was powerless over alcohol before I put it in my body. We all know from Dr. Silkworth and know from each other what happens when we take that first drink. We know what happens. I'm powerless before I take that first drink. Before I take the first drink, it's already done for me. They wanted me to do all these steps, all this God stuff. I gave up on God. I prayed to God when I was a little kid. I can remember praying to God to stop the stuff that's happened to me. Stop it. God never answered my prayers. As far as I was concerned, I wasn't going to do this AA God stuff. My sponsor said he didn't believe in the God I didn't believe in either. And that I had to go here and get my own conception. My own conception, because the God I had was other people's. Other people's God. I didn't have one of my conception. My conception was of other people's God. The same thing that I started this talk with that Ebby told Bill. Find your own conception. And I had to do that. My sponsor said I had to write this 4-step down. Write it down. I said, I ain't writing it down. I don't spell good. He said, it ain't a spelling contest. You got to write your 4-step. I ain't doing that 4-step. I ain't going to do that. I don't have good English. I don't do that. We had big fights over the 4-step, and I finally said, look, I don't like witnesses. Stuff I've done in my life, I don't want people to, I don't even want to know what I've done, you know. Sponsor said I got to write this 4-step. We had a big fight over this 4-step, and my sponsor finally asked me, and I'll leave you with this, about rabies. Everybody here know about rabies? You know about rabies if you heard me talk, probably. Guy was home drinking, and he ran out of booze. Ever happened to you? Home drinking, he ran out of booze. He said, oh my God, I got to get liquor store. Story is the package store, so it's a southern story. So he ran down to the package store, and he got him a bottle of bourbon. I hope it was a bottle of bourbon, and he came home. And right when he got to his front door, a dog got him. A big dog got him and got him by the leg and bit him all over. Just bit his leg and tore his leg up and tore his pants up. And he finally kicked the dog off, and he got in his little apartment there, and look at he's just bleeding all over the floor, and everything is just horrible. And he pours him a water glass full of that bourbon and is drinking it and wondering what to do. And there's a knock on the door. And he went over the door. There's a policeman standing there. The officer said, hey, are you the guy that just got bit by that dog? And the guy says, yeah, look at my leg. That dog tore me up, tore my pants up, tore my leg up. I'm bleeding like a stuck pig here. It's just horrible. And the cop said, you know what? That dog has rabies. We've been chasing it. We've been trying to get that dog for a couple of days. That dog has rabies, and you're going to have to go get rabies treatment. And it's really painful, but you have to go get it, or you're going to die a horrible, horrible, painful death. Our guy took a thing of his bourbon and said, you know what, I don't care about all that. Leave me alone. The officer said, I'm telling you, it's going to be a horrible, horrible, painful death if you don't get treatment. The guy says, you know what, get out of my house and leave me alone. And the cop left, and he went over his little table, and he sat down and filled his water glass full of that bourbon, was drinking it, and he got him a pad and a pencil out. And he wrote down all the names of the people that he wanted to bite before he died. Then he wrote down the names of the people he thought if they had rabies would want to bite him. And he had 2 pretty good lists. So my sponsor said to me, David, if you had rabies and was going to die a horrible, horrible death, horrible, painful death, is there anybody you'd like to bite before you died? I say, yes, there is. And so I've been pushed and conned and loved all the way through. We started out this, you know, our theme here at the Roundup is what? Anybody know it? Willing to go to any lengths. Chapter 5. Our stories disclose in a general way what we used to be like. People say what it used to be like. It really says what we used to be like. What happened and what we are like now. If you have decided you want what we have and are willing to go to any length to get it, then you're ready to take certain steps. And that's what this is all about. Themes of all conventions are not in the context of what they're saying in a way. There's part of me that says today at 45 years, I still have to go to any lengths today. What's the lengths that I have to go to? What is it that I have to do? But for us at the beginning, are we willing to take these steps? That Chuck C. used to say, these are the steps we took. Because that's what we have here. We have roundups and conventions, and we have dances and parties and cookouts, and we have fellowship, and we have everything. We have it all. If you want part of that, these are the steps we took. So come join us. Thank you. I forgot that part.
Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with, and it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right, but I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.